Hello and welcome to another episode of Logan's Movie Reviews. And today we are talking about parts three and four of When They See Us, a movie portraying the events surrounding the Central Park Five. And I am joined once again by One Silva. How you doing, man?
Hey, good afternoon, Logan. Good afternoon, movie fans, as we talk about one of the greatest limited series, as this is one of the greatest episodes in television history, the entire four-part limited series, When They See Us, chapters 3 and 4.
I think this might be the best limited series of all time because
Oh, without a doubt. You know what? Let me rephrase that. The greatest limited series of all time. Yes.
because it doesn't really it's all true. That's the main thing, and then it's just the way they do it. Like it really pulls at your heart, man. I mean, it's well done. So let's give props to the director.
By the way, the props to director Ava DuVernay. She's gonna sweep all types of awards. She's winning every Emmy. Whatever they give her for this, she's getting it. And shout out to the writers, Ava DuVernay, and the same guy who wrote a movie we loved and just as heart wrenching, the inevitable defeat of Mr. and Pete, Michael Starberry, the co-writer of this class. Yes, unbelievable that this man's he's written two phenomenal heart wrenching movies. This and the inevitable defeat of Mr. and Pete. So shout out to both the director and her co-screenwriter, Michael Starberry, as they did a phenomenal job. Their homework was sensational, all the way down, Logan, to actually having a Pepsi can by Corey when he's being questioned by the police.
Yeah, and then they really, in terms of the casting, they got people that really matched up with the real image of what the kids were when. I mean, these little kids, man, all of them, even the one that went to jail, real jail.
He was 16. Oh my God! And what I don't understand.
I just want to know factually, before you go there, I just want to ask you: they all eventually went to adult prison, right?
Yes.
They all were. Okay.
Corey went straight to adult prison, but the other four were held in juvenile Spotswood until the age of 18 when they were transferred to correctional facilities, adult correctional facilities in upstate New York.
Yeah, so they all fucking had to go through that shit. Mm-hmm. Even though we really only saw the jail experience of Corey, they all went through similar shit. So it's important. They couldn't depict all of it. Otherwise, it would be like a 20-part.
This would have been a 20-part series. But Ava DuVernay, I mean, she strategically did a great job of episode 3 and 4. By episode 3, she showcased the 4 that went to juvenile detention centers. But instead of showing what was going on with them there, she showed what happened when they came out and the difficulty. We'll go into this of what they had to face once released from prison. And the final episode was the Jarrell Jerome as Corey Raj show. I mean, unbelievable. Not a dry eye in the house wherever they watched this at. I mean, the entire episode 4 was dedicated to him. So, I mean, I didn't know where it was going to go after chapter 2, but she did a masterful job of breaking it down in order to show all the trauma and the difficulty that all 5 had to face with prison and after prison.
Yeah, man. I think there's more to be told for this story even. I mean, probably you could even do like a real series on this, like a 2-season series or 3 seasons.
Yeah, yeah, you could definitely, because you have the rape itself, the events of that night, right? You have the aftermath, the media, the trial, and then prison. Oh, you forget 2-3 seasons. We're talking endless. endless.
Oh, I mean, I was thinking a season for each part of this movie. You know,
yes, without a doubt, without a doubt.
But so there's a lot to unpack here. But so we'll start off here with part 3, where we picked up from part 2. They all were convicted. I mean, there was some you know, stuff that they got acquitted of, but for the main part, they all got placed at the crime scene and perpetrated the crime. So they all got put into the 4 younger ones. Everybody except for Corey went into juvie, and Corey went. We don't even hear about Corey at this point. They kind of talk about him in part 3. About like we ain't heard from him since he got transferred. So he's not even in the picture, but we see the lives of Kevin. So let's get these names right. We got Kevin, we got Tron, and we got Ray.
We got Antoine, Kevin, Raymond, and Yusuf.
Yeah, and Yusuf. Okay, so we see that they're in there. Their family, you know, is more or less supporting them. I mean, they're trying to visit as much as they can, give them as much money as they can, but all of these families, you can tell, are struggling for money. And we see that Ray has been in contact with his dad. His dad is remarried to the chick from Orange is New Black, this big mama. But I forget her name as an actress. But
wait, go backtrack. Which father?
I'm talking about Ray's dad, played by John Leguizamo.
She's got a delicious ass. Yeah, Dasha Polanco, booty for days. Shout out to the Bronx Puerto Rican native who's got body for days. And when Raymond came home from prison, he's closer to her age than she is to his father's age. You can tell his father was pussy whipped. He was worried. It's his apartment, right? That's his apartment. And he's like, no, don't make her mad. Don't make her mad. You got to respect her.
Yeah. This is her house. And
really meaning, don't make no waves, so I ain't gonna get no pussy. I ain't go. You look at that ass. Right. I can't throw her out.
I can't give up. No, but what she done, she looked like she's taking advantage of him because she's using his fucking place to take care of her family.
Him to take care of her entire family. She used his house as a daycare center for all her nieces and nephews. Unbelievable. Right. I mean, when Raymond comes home, it's romper room up in the house.
Yeah. She looked like what she did was a young girl. She basically hoed herself out to help her family.
You know what? There's a lot of women like that, and that's exactly what she was. She was looking for anybody. It didn't matter how the guy looked, as long as he could take care of her. There's a lot of young women out there like that. And once she got inside, she took over. She's like, what you going to do, leave me? You think you'll get somebody with an ass like this? You lucky I'm with you. You know how many men would want to get with me? Oh, my God. And the way she treated Raymond, she totally just telling him in Spanish that he's a rapist and the whole nine. And I was really upset with John Leguizamo's character, Raymond Santana's father, because look at the fuck. Come on, man, get the fuck out of here. Get out of here. You know, you got to understand, men, you got to understand, right? You letting the women have the power. No, you have the power, because where's she going to go with all those kids, right?
Well, not only that, but women, when you give up your power to a woman, they disrespect you even more. It's not like they give you...
in front of your own family. That's right. That's what happens here.
Yeah, so it's like, even if you think like, oh, you're going to get something, after a while, nothing's ever going to be enough. And in fact, she's going to be lacking because women like a firm hand, man. They want somebody to slap them.
You have to put your foot down or you wind up like him. No. Yeah. Talking about just being tough. Just like, the fuck out of
here. You can't just be they don't like people you can walk on. Anyway, they're walking all over this dude who, at the time of the dude's arrest and incarceration, there was no mother around. Do we know what happened to his original mom?
I don't know.
I think he was a widower. Yeah.
She died. He was a single father. His mother was helping him raise Raymond. Now, when Raymond comes out of prison 6-7 years later, he sees he's got a baby brother and a whole bunch of kids that aren't even related to him. And he's like, what? It used to be just me, you, and Grandma. Now it's the entire. I don't even see Grandma.
We see the beginning of this episode is the grandma given, they're honoring her for her birthday, and she's crying about how she doesn't feel good because one of her family's still away, and you see how
you don't see her. You don't see her when Raymond comes home.
Oh no.
Or maybe she's passed.
Because they flash forward. Yeah, they flash forward to when he gets out. He's much older. She's gone. And his buxom wife has taken it over. So he goes into his room, and his room is filled with toys and cribs and everything. Yeah. So, but he does see on his door the shit that he used to keep up there, the one thing that's left, and it's a reminder of how much time has gone by for this guy, and he's just. You see when he sees his dad for the first time outside, he's crying. He's still a little kid inside. This guy looks like a hard adult, but inside he's fucking the age when he went in. So he's trying to fumble about, trying to get jobs. We see all these people trying to get jobs, and the problem is they got to register as sex offenders and felons.
Once again, great writing by Starberry and DuVernay. They bring you the process. A lot of movies, a lot of TV series do not focus on how hard it is for a felon to get situated in society once he or she is released from prison. And the scene where is it Antoine? Is it Antoine or Kevin is having breakfast with his parole officer, and the parole officer is explaining to him how to fill out a job application and the jeopardy you put yourself in if you fill it falsely. And you see the ramifications for Raymond later on in the episode when
that is Ray. I think that's Ray in that scene.
Okay, whoever it is, he's like, look, you have to check. It says, were you a felon, or have you ever committed a crime? You have to check yes. If you check yes, then they're gonna, they're gonna. You can't work a shift with another guy like that guy right there. He's a felon. So if you check yes, which you should, then you cannot work the same shift as him because you cannot mingle with another known felon. You would have to work a later shift. Now, if you check no, all right, you can work with the guy, but in the long run, it will come back to bite you in the ass. Also,
they'll throw you in jail.
Also, which is what happened to Antoine's father, played by Michael K. Williams, back in episode 1. Now, he also talks about how you have to go to these classes and you have to register as a sex offender, and even after your parole is over, after you've completed parole, you still have to register, and
for the rest of your life.
Boom, you go right back to prison for the rest of your life. You never see this in other movies depicting men and women coming out of prison. I mean, you see everything they have to deal with, and Tron, he's working at the movie theater, right, cleaning up as a janitor at the movie theater, and a girl starts liking him, and a guy was like, "Hey, aren't you from? Oh, no, I ain't from around here." He doesn't want the added attention.
Right.
Later on, when they're walking, she's like, "Why can't you?" She's like, she's being a bitch. She know what this dude's about. He's trying to save money to go to college, and she's like, "How come you never take me out? Why can't you take me somewhere?" And he's like, "Look, I'm trying to save money. Oh, so I'm not worth it? Shit.
Yeah, I'm not
anyway,
important." He's like, I can't stand on shit. Yeah.
You's a rapist anyway. And I was like, look at this bitch.
So many bitches in this fucking movie, dude. Right? I mean,
and
this movie makes you hate women.
Raymond Santana's stepmother and this girl that Antoine is trying to date. And, I mean, God, Lord. And they're both throwing the crimes that they did not commit, that they were convicted of, in their face, like they're like they're animals. But why with the girl that's with Antoine? Why are you fucking with me? Why are you fucking with me if you think I'm a rapist? And with Santana's stepmother, well, if you think about that like that to me, then why are you with my father who raised this animal? So
yeah. And like, why are you even letting me in here?
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
unbelievable. I'm surprised she didn't throw him out the first day he came in, because she was looking at him like, why the fuck's this dude in? Because she sees him as a threat to the household, as a threat to control his father.
Right. He'll break the spell she has over him by talking sense into his dad. Because he's all like, remember when Grandma lived here? You couldn't even put your feet on the furniture.
Right.
Now
He's jumping up and down on the furniture. Right.
So actually, we can get to Ray, because Ray, he had a pen pal in there. One of the chicks out on the outside thought he was good looking. This happens to a lot of criminals, in fact, who get incarcerated.
It happens to a lot of criminals, without a doubt. Yeah. He gets with her. He gets with her, and she a sexy little Puerto Rican mommy. And while he's having sex with her, who happens to pop up into the room? His stepmother, and she starts cursing him out, and the girl runs out thinking that because she's young like her, that's his woman. He's like, no, That's not my woman. That's my stepmother. Please.
Yeah, right. That's his stepmom. In fact, I'm gonna, anybody who gets cheating, you should use that as an excuse. It might work. They might believe it. So. That's my stepmom.
That's my stepmother. No, I swear, that's my stepmother. But
my dad, he dates young.
Yeah, like most men.
Hey. So, I don't think you'd be putting up with some old bitch and all these kids. So you need. But anyway,
only if he's in a wheelchair. Yeah.
So we got so interestingly, yeah, he gets with this chick who's like, turns out to understand even finally, and they look like they get hot. They decide to move in together. But he at that very moment I think he gets fired from his job.
They find out he lied on his application.
Oh, okay. So this does come back to bite him.
It goes back to bite him in the ass. What was told to him at the beginning, he went against, and he loses his job, and he can't get another job. So this is 1993, 94, 95. So we're still in the height of the crack era. And so he starts selling crack, and he winds up getting busted because I believe, it's inferred, but I don't know this to be factual, but I believe the stepmother ratted him out. Right,
because at one point when he was leaving, he actually moved out, which is what she wanted. And the motherfucker says to him, the bitch is like, I'm going to drop the dime on your ass. Basically tells him he's going to call and say you're dealing drugs to the police. And she even tells him she's going to do it. So, yes, I mean, I'm sure that was put in there to imply it.
So he is lucky that he was able to get it. I think
what happened was
when the guy came out.
It was a violation. It was a violation of his parole, really. Like, probably he got caught for possession.
But he's lucky he ever saw the light of day again. But I think what happened was his conviction had to be overturned. So this wasn't a violation of parole. It was your first arrest. So that's how he was able to probably get out. Because
absolutely,
if they had never been exonerated, he will still be in prison.
Oh, he would be in for if he got busted dealing, he'd be in there for another 20 years.
On top of a rape conviction. Right. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
But anyway, he would have never actually, all these guys but we're talking about the guys that came out in this episode, in episode 3, they all got out not because they were exonerated. They finished their fucking sentence.
They
finished their sentence.
Parole. No. Right. What I'm saying, he went to jail for violating his parole. Had he not got exonerated, I'm saying he'd still be in prison for that because it'd still be a second offense. It turned out because he got exonerated from the rape conviction that it was his first offense, and that's why he was able to get out earlier than than expected off of selling drugs.
Yeah, I'm just pointing it out because I think a lot of people think like they were exonerated and then they got out of jail because they exonerated.
Four of them were exonerated after they served their time.
Which is
and we'll
like
talk about
unbelievable.
the fifth one in the next. Yeah.
Right. So in this, so here he starts to deal drugs, and he gets right back in. So that's the tragedy of his story in this episode here. Then we have Tron, who's dealing with his father, played by the great
Michael K. Williams. Williams. And by the way, real quick, I want to plug. I just wrote an article this morning, and I put it on geek101.com, where I reviewed. It's my series on the golden age of television, and I reviewed When They See Us, Happen Leonard, and The Shy. Michael K. Williams was not only one of the stars of When They See Us, but one of the stars of Happen Leonard. So you go ahead and read that, and I talk more about Michael K. Williams. I mean, more has to be said. His life is the American. I mean, just a great American story, a great American comeback story. When he was 16, 17 years old, he was jumped and he was slashed. He never got reconstructive surgery. You still see the slash across his nose. He's kept that, and he turned his life around with dance. And the late great, our favorite Tupac Shakur gave him his first acting job in the movie Bullet that starred Tupac and Mickey Rourke. And that got Michael K. Williams a foot into the Hollywood door, and then he busted it open in 2002 when he starred as the iconic Omar in The Wire. And in this show, he's tremendous in this episode. As far as the adults go, shout out to John Leguizamo, Niecy Nash, and Michael K. Williams, as they were phenomenal and played their roles to the T. And we'll talk about Niecy soon when we talk about, oh my God, in episode 4. We'll talk because her, the transgender actor, I forgot. Matter of fact, she had a sex change, so she's a she now. I forgot her name. I'm going to look that up real quick. And Jamel Jerome were phenomenal in episode 4. In episode 4 alone, Logan, Nash, the young transgender actress, and Jerome all deserve Emmy nominations and awards for that episode itself. Episode 4 was the best of all 4 episodes, but we'll get into that. I was talking about Michael K. Williams, and you brought up his father. His father's back in the picture, even though his father abandoned him, and you see the hatred of Antoine towards his father, because it's his father's fault that he got into where he got.
Yeah, and we talked about that in the last episode. His father, who was basically facing a similar situation because he was a felon, didn't want to fuck up his situation and was threatened unlawfully, I would argue, by the investigators to tell Tron to just confess to everything, and that will help both of them. But he was really trying to help himself, and Tron listened to him, and so Tron always felt anger at his father for this, and of course his father lost his life. I mean, basically just fell off the deep end because he was so guilty about it and became a drug addict.
Because he was guilt-ridden over what he did to his son, and then it didn't help his testimony in court, which he really put his foot in the mouth, and so he went back to his old ways of being addicted to drugs and alcohol, and died at a very young age.
Yeah, well, he had to be under dialysis. His kidneys were failing, and but the mother, Tron's mother, was a very loyal woman.
She loved the man. She loved him regardless of what he did. That was her husband. She loved him. Yeah,
and she said, when you're married, you make a vow to take care of them in sickness and health. But Tron is like, but like we did everything out of love. Like when he left us, that wasn't out of love. That was just like actually the opposite.
That was being selfish, right? Yes.
Right. And we listened. Like I listened to him. I made a mistake by listening to him, but I did it out of love. You made a mistake by taking him back. because you did it out of love, but he left us. So like he broke the contract is basically what he's trying to argue. And he's like, I would have told you never to go back to him. But anyway, it's not. I thought he was going to kick his dad out, but he didn't do that. I mean, he just ignored him completely. And you saw the scene where his dad tries to give him some lunch and suggest that they have a talk, and his son does not want anything to do with him. He just doesn't even listen to him. It's like he doesn't even exist. And it's not until this scene where his dad is like almost about to die, and he's really struggling, that his son comes up and finally gives him a hug. And I think in that moment,
Michael K. Williams, I don't know if he has any Emmy nominations or awards. He should have a truck.
Oh yeah.
For if you look at the stuff he's done since The Wire, Boardwalk Empire, where he played Chalky White, sensational. The Night Of, he was the best actor on that show. He was tremendous as the former boxer, convicted rapist who took the young Arab boy under his wing and protected him. And matter of fact, even set it up where it could cause a hung jury. He was sensational tonight of another show that, man, it always seems that when we do greatest episodes of all time, Michael K. Williams is involved.
Dude, this guy, I mean, everybody knows him as Omar, but you know what I mean? Because that was such an iconic role.
He's bigger than that. He's bigger than that.
Yeah.
He's bigger than that. He's bigger
than
that. He can't be typecast like a Henry Winkler as Fonzie. No, he's bigger than Omar because his body of work has continued beyond Omar. Omar got him in the door, but look at all these great characters he plays, and it helps that he's dark-skinned. It helps that he's a dark-skinned brother because he can get those type of roles that most Hollywood actors won't even look at. I mean, he's played a homosexual anti-hero in The Wire as Omar, and as Leonard in Happen Leonard. In The Night Of, he plays a convicted rapist who tries to do right by this young man and protects this man from being raped in prison, right? I just love the man's work. He's a tremendous actor. He was great as Rick Ross in the movie that we talked about, Kill the Messenger. So he's just, and he's never, everything he does, he steals the show, and everything he does, he knocks it out the park. He hits a home run. He never gives a bad performance. The man is hungry.
Oh, no way.
I hope he continues to flourish, and I hope one day he gets that Oscar-winning role that he deserves. Because, man, that's a bad dude. He's killing it in television. I want him to kill it on the motion picture screen.
He's killing it. He'll kill it wherever he goes. But let's just talk about this performance. Now he looks like he's on his last legs, really. I mean, and there's that touch. He died shortly after this. Yeah. So, but there seems like a final forgiveness there in that scene. So that gives us a little closure with that. That's what the movie depicted. But in real life, Antoine McCrae, the entire cast. If you watch the show on Netflix, they also have Oprah interviewing the entire cast and the real life Central Park 5. And she asked Antoine point blank, "Do you forgive your father?" And he said, "No, I'll never forgive my father." Wow, interesting. That's bad for that's a must watch. That's a must watch for everybody that has seen his miniseries is to watch that. Okay. I mean, Oprah is tremendous in interviewing Ava DuVernay and the children in the movie, the adults in the movie, and the real life Central Park 5. And when you hear all five talking, the one that really impressed me the most is Corey, because she asked Corey, "Do you regret going to the station with Yusuf?" And he says, I have mixed emotions about it. He's not lying. A lot of times you see somebody say, "Oh no, man, I'd do it again in a heartbeat." No, he said, "Oh no way." He says he has mixed emotions about it. He went with him because that was his best friend. But if he could do it over again, maybe he wouldn't go with it. Maybe he's not lying. He's being honest. Highly recommended. It's a 90-minute interview on Netflix. It's just Oprah presents When They See Us. So then we go to Yusuf, who is he's he kind of he quickly associates himself with the Muslim brother. Or
well,
the
he was
Muslim,
Muslim. See, that's what
right.
protected him. Anybody who's ever been to prison or has known people going to prison, right?
The become a Muslim.
Safest way, but he was already a Muslim before he came into prison. His name is Yusuf Salam. He was a member of the Nation of Islam. His family was. So when he got to prison, they quickly, even though he was a rapist, or even though they claimed he was a rapist, he was convicted as a rapist. They protected him. The two strongest factions in prison are the Aryan Nation and the Muslims. They don't get fucked.
Right. Yeah. So it's almost like a good idea that if you're black to become a Muslim in jail because like maybe you'll get a better deal. He kind of at the time like wasn't he associating with Kevin, like they were kind of friends.
But they were because they were in the same correctional facility. But once you're with the Muslims, if Kevin doesn't believe that, you're only going to associate with Muslims. So Kevin was left on his own.
Yeah,
and it's funny. It's funny how Kevin was the shortest of the whole crew, and then when he comes out, he's the biggest of them all.
Yeah. So we see them. We see him talking with his mother, and his mother. He's like concerned about their family, and she's just like, "Listen, you just think about yourself." But you can tell like the anguish that this actor, this young guy, is portraying here of just being in there and seeing your mother so upset, and you just want to get out for her, and then worried about your whole family, which. It seems like none of them really saw except for their mothers. A lot of these people like didn't even see. We'll talk about the other guy who saw his sister and everybody, but for the most part, like it's just their moms that are keeping up the flame for them, and they're not seeing anyone else.
Raymond is Raymond's father, and Kevin is his sweet ass sister. Yeah.
Oh yeah. But we see we'll stick with Yusuf's story before we get there because like there's these they're intertwined but they're separate. So this one, the story of Yusuf is that he probably I think they imply that he has the easier time because of being a Muslim, and he gets out. They kind of just flash forward to him. His mom, consoling him, and then him getting out. And when he gets out, they don't have much story around this character. It's just kind of like you see him in different places, kind of sitting there.
Well, in real life, Yusuf quickly moved out of New York City and began going to school. And like I mentioned in the last episode, he has a PhD, and not a PhD that they hand you because you're a celebrity. He went to school and obtained a PhD. He's Dr. Yusuf Salam, as Oprah so correctly named him. Oprah was like, Yusuf, oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Salam. And he had a big smile on his face when he said that.
Nice. So when we get, we don't really see much of his story until the exoneration, but then we see that, then we go to Kevin. Kevin is he's the one with the sister, right?
Yes.
And she's feels guilty because at the time, if you remember from the last episode,
she tells a heartwarming story about how she was working for Avis or Hertz a car rental place.
Yeah.
And a guy comes in, and the guy is trying to take her out, and you could tell she likes the guy. And they're flirting and the whole nine. And then when he comes back, he asks her out. And Kevin is sitting there intently. And Kevin's like, wow, so did you go out? Did you go out with him? Did you go out with him? And she's like, I can't enjoy myself when I know you're in here.
Yeah. So she says, no, I said no to him. Even though, but she starts it off by talking about what happiness is. And she says that happiness is something to look forward to. And so she tells the story how she looked forward to the 3 days when the guy was going to come back and return the car.
Yeah.
But then she ends it by saying, no, I said no to him because I felt guilty I allowed you to sign that confession.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But only because Kevin pleaded with her to do so, because you remember she's
but
like,
you know
please,
what?
please.
You know what? You know what? I understand what she did, but her being the older sister and the guardian,
Right. She did wrong.
should have. She did wrong, and she knows this. She should not have listened to his pleas just because he wanted to go. She should have stayed strong. I mean, hindsight is 20/20, and I can't judge anybody. I mean, she did what she did out of love for her heart, whether it was wrong or right. She did what she did out of her love for her brother. But she knows what she did is wrong, and that's why she's suffering, A, because of what she did, and B, she can't enjoy her life knowing that he's in prison for crime he didn't commit. Like she said, him, a rapist, a rapist, him, she knows her little brother. Her little brother was tight. He never even kissed a girl. He raped a girl.
Right. So, but we see that the family's supporting him. He gets out, and when he gets out, she's in the car with him, and she's just like, a lot of things changed around here, but the one thing that hasn't changed, and I answered, I mean you, because you didn't age at all. But anyway, but I'm talking, but she's talking. Yeah, a little bit. But I don't know how they CGI that on her. But
I don't know. I think if you notice, Logan, in the first episode, the clothes she wore were very baggy.
Okay.
She comes out, she's got nicer fitting clothes. I guess to make it look like she aged some, because there's nothing you could do with her face. And she's 30 years old. She don't look a day past 18.
Well, she played an 18-year-old at first, though.
Yeah, I mean, she's 30 years old. Oh my God, that means at 50 she'll still look 30.
Anyway, she's there. She's saying, the one thing that hasn't changed is you, Kevin. Like, you're the same person as when you went in, but we're gonna, and he quickly starts picking up. Is he the one that picks up computers?
No, that's Yusuf. That's Yusuf.
Oh, that's Yusuf. Okay, Yusuf starts on that, but he where does he go? What does he end up doing? I forget.
He moves out in New York as well.
No, but I mean in this part, I thought he was like, where does he get a job?
Remember, there's a scene where him and Yusuf go to the meeting of sex offenders, and they both tell the lady holding the meeting, "No, we're not going to confess to something we didn't do," and they walk out.
That's right. So that's an interesting scene. So they're both in this. What is this? Is this one of those? It's a sex offender class, and
but
they're supposed
that is mandated for your parole.
Right, and they're supposed to admit, and this happens a lot in the movie where they keep bringing them up either for parole hearing or whatever, and they say, will you admit to your crime? And they never do. They always say, no, we did not do this. And like, it's amazing how much, once they convict you, and even though you plead not guilty, they force you to say that you are guilty just to get out of jail. And none of these people would do it. And in this case, it's just like you get kicked out of the class if you don't say that, and that just sets you back even further because you constantly have to redo the class from the beginning.
You gotta constantly start from scratch.
Right. So you're never free of this shit. So it's a 3-year thing, like with the class. So that just extends the more you just don't cooperate, and they will not admit that they did it. And so they walk out and they're like, fuck it, they'll schedule me for another class. Like I'm not going to sacrifice. Because that's like the one thing they have inside of them that no one can take away from them is that they're not going to fucking
do
admit.
It, and they're not going to admit to something they didn't do.
Right. They did it. They did that the first time in the fucking when they got coerced, and they know that was such a fuck up. They'll never do it again. And so.
Exactly.
And can you imagine if they had, right, after all this, when coercing for parole or whatever in these classes, let's just say they did admit to it. Then when the new evidence comes through, they're going to be like, oh, well, they admitted to it again.
No, they probably would have never been exonerated.
Exactly. Because because that's actually a big thing with these guys who try to help you, these people that do the Innocence Project and stuff like that. If you always maintain your innocence, that's a factor for them to take your case. So it's a good idea never to, if you really are innocent, I mean, as much as it might
Mm-hmm.
fuck you up, don't ever make them say that you did it, because they'll hold it against you. Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, in this case, maybe if they had admitted in these classes, that would have held against them. So better what they did. So they walk out, and they're just they end up getting jobs. I mean, everybody except for Ray ends up getting some kind of job, but it's usually a very menial job, and they get fired very easily. Now we also have Yusef's mother, who we see she keeps getting fired just because of what her son did, and even though that's illegal, uh, that's actually occurring. You know what I mean? Like she's being fired, being discriminated against because of her son.
Mm-hmm.
So we have these. So all these storylines are kind of converging on the just showing the real tough life that these guys are facing when they get out. Very disadvantaged, and but they all manage to do okay. Like, I mean, because they're not stupid, and they figure out. Except for Ray, uh, they figure out how to even to keep their lives going, and keep on going. So in many ways, it shows their strength of character in this episode. So then we go into episode 4, where
The single best episode of the series, and
yeah,
shout out to
the hardest one to watch.
Jarrell Jerome, who was the only actor, Logan, to play the character both as a boy and as an adult.
Right. So this episode makes you want to murder. I shouldn't say this, but the prosecutor, who is now catching a lot of shit for the stuff that she forced her interrogators to do to these children, and now she's still convinced. I think even today she's convinced she didn't do anything wrong.
Even today, even though she's lost her book deal, and this woman has written many books, many crime
novels.
Yeah, she's made millions of dollars exploiting these children, right? She, a professor at Columbia, which she lost her tenure and a professor job at Columbia, and she lost a book deal. Now, they're not going to take away your book deal and tell you no longer to teach at Columbia University if you claim you were in the right. They're not going to do that because they could be liable to be sued for unjust termination. No, they when they found out this bitch was a liar, they kicked it to the curb.
Yeah, and she was. I mean, what she did was child abuse. You know what I mean? It was like beyond.
Yes.
It was like something like a Nazi would do to somebody. I mean, you are one of the worst human beings, and to live with yourself now. I mean, I'm surprised she's not getting death threats and shit, because
I'm
the
sure
way
she
that
has. I'm sure she has.
Yeah.
I'm surprised she hasn't brought it up. But yeah, she's adamant in that these boys are guilty to this day. So are all the detectives, even though their theories were shot down by the people investigating the crime in 2002 when they got the DNA and when they interviewed the man who actually did the crime.
Right. Well, which is intertwined here in this story. So this story opens up with the conviction of Corey, and he gets, instead of being sent to juvie, he gets sent right to Rikers. And at Rikers, he's instantly like beaten up, raped, and the guy there, the fucking guard, is like, let me know what you can do for me. And he basically throws him to the wolves because he doesn't know he doesn't even understand. This guy looks like he's special needs here. He's like not very, he's very immature, 15-year-old or 16-year-old. So he doesn't even understand what the question, like what what could you do for me? Like, what can I do for you? I'm in jail. Like, what can you do for me? You're the guard, like, but he throws him instantly to the wolves, gets raped, beat up, and the guard gives him one piece of advice though. He's like, don't ever ask for the infirmary. Ask for fucking solitary. Now I don't know if that's an advice to fuck him up, or that I think it's an advice to fuck him up because he's like doesn't like people going to the infirmary because then they tell what happened.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So his advice to him is not
but
really
you know what?
good advice.
Even though that advice was selfish, that advice probably saved Corey's life.
Saved him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right because if you come out of the infirmary, they just kill you at that point because you're a witness to something. So at least in solitary, they can't get at you. So his mom is like, he can't even get his money from his mom to give to this guard. I think she finally comes up with something, but for the most part, like it takes him a long time to realize. I think he has to get raped basically to realize that, okay, I got to pay this guard, or else I'm going to get raped again. And so he figures out how to get something to this guard, but he never lets his mom know. He just says, I'm surviving, and he doesn't tell his mom that he's getting beat up or raped or anything like that. His mom is like, I'm having a hard, how hard it is for me to get out here. And we're talking 7 miles away. So this is like, because they keep putting up on the screen like how far away he is from the Bronx or Harlem. So this is where he's at. Like he's now in Rikers. So it's like, she's like, it's really hard for me to get out here. It's like, well, I'll apply for a transfer because one of the prisoners says, oh, all you got to do is write a letter and then they'll transfer you. And I don't know where he thinks he's going to get transferred that's going to be closer than 7 miles.
Rikers Island is the closest correctional facility to New York City. So what he was doing got him set right. The rest is all upstate.
Yeah, he gets sent to Attica.
200 to 400 miles away from where his mother lives. And by the way, Niecy Nash, phenomenal. Niecy Nash has been known for years as a comedy actress, Reno 911, Soul Man, and she's a very funny lady, but her acting chops in this episode especially, matter of fact, I'll leave it alone when you bring it up. That scene, in my opinion, was the scene that we'll talk about later, was the single best scene of this series. And we'll talk about that later. But you're right.
Well, I don't know what scene you're talking about, but...
Well, you'll bring it up. So when you bring it up, I'll tell you.
Well, anyway, we see one scene.
He gets sent all the way upstate, but it also probably saved his life too because he meets two people there. Corey meets a correction officer who, deep down inside, knows he did not do this.
Guilty.
I guess through his interaction with this kid, he knows there's no way this kid's a rapist. There's no way this kid could have done it, and he has a young son at home, and like he told Corey, I'm protecting. When I first saw this, Logan, I'm like, man, I don't know what happens here. Is this guy going to rape him? Is this correction officer going to rape him by being so nice, by protecting him? Because Corey asked him, why are you being so nice to me? And he says, because I have a young son at home, and I'd like to know if he was where you're at, somebody would be protecting him. And this young man, this correction officer, and I wish they would have found him and brought him on the show. I wish on the Oprah show when she interviewed everybody, because this man saved this man's life. He put him in solitary. He got him a job where he could watch TV and the whole nine. And that same job, Logan, he meets and gets into a fight with the actual rapist.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because first he gets beat up, and he tells the guard, I want to go to solitary. And that's where the guard starts giving him reading material.
Yep.
And he kind of just goes into fantasies when he's in solitary. Like, at least he's safe, and he just lets his mind wander. And you can see all these flashbacks, and he talks about what could have been. He kind of has a flashback of, like, maybe if I didn't go to the park when they banged on the window.
If I went to Coney Island with the girl, with his girlfriend,
So he ends up living that reality and, like, and he figures out a way to just kind of dream his way through this solitary confinement, man. I mean, it's just, if you ever, I don't know if you saw the movie Papillon. It reminded me of that movie.
No, I never saw that movie.
Yeah, it was just a movie about a guy who goes. First, they did one with Steve McQueen, and then they recently did one with the guy from Sons of Anarchy. Uh, it's a remake of it, but it's a movie about a guy who goes to jail for a really long time, and he has to be in solitary forever. And so it reminded me of just the strength of character that just comes out of it. If it doesn't break you, you become
right.
a Superman, you know. And this guard, you know, gives him material to read, and he's like, maybe you could give me a Nintendo or a TV. He's like, no, it's better if you just keep reading. So he gives him that, and then he gives him the job, like you said, and that's where, he comes into contact. So what happens is he's enjoying the music, doing his cleaning, and all of a sudden this guy shows up, and we really don't know why he's there. He's not supposed to be there. This Hispanic guy sitting there watching the TV, and he turns it down. And he's like, why you turn it down? He's like, turn it back up. And he's like, no, I'm cool. So then they get into a fight over the TV, and this actually is a big thing in prison. I know because I was there. And the TV is like, people fight over the TV more than anything. Like what's on, what the channel it is, man, like the volume. So I can relate. But this shit is like, they fight big time over this. And it's right before he's going to his parole board meeting. And so he's got a black guy going in there, and they clean him up. And he goes in there, and they ask him to, once again, admit that what you did. And he's just like, nope, not going to do it. And they send him right back in. And and he, you know, though this guard has given him a lot of help and stuff like that, his mom comes. And I feel like his mom is always kind of like a catalyst for something shitty to happen, because his mom shows up after traveling like 300 miles to this new prison, and he just wants her to come more, you know. So he's thinking, oh, let me get another transfer. Maybe he can get transferred back to Rikers. I don't know what he's thinking. Even the guard warns him, like, you're liable to end up in an even further prison. And he's just like, nah, man, my luck's run out. Well, guess what? It hasn't, because that shit, he gets transferred to a even further prison, and this one, he doesn't have the protection of this guard. And he just ends up, but he gets beat up. He keeps to the advice of the first guard, and he keeps getting put up in solitary confinement, which ends up protecting him. So but each time he goes into population, this dude gets his ass handed to him, either by white supremacists in the second prison he goes to, or just by general people just fucking with him. And it looked like he got raped again in the third jail. But you can see that this actor, and it's a good they didn't change actors for this one, because you see the way he matures in his face.
Yes.
This guy should win some kind of award.
He definitely deserves an Emmy for Best Actor, because the stars of the movie, he's got the most lines of any character in the movie, because he goes from child to adult. So he should be nominated for a Best Actor Emmy in a limited series. He's definitely, and with Michael K. Williams and Niecy Nash and John Leguizamo getting supporting actor and actresses nominations.
Okay, yeah. So, but anyway, so he's there. He always, you know, goes to the parole board. He always says that he didn't do it. And at even one point, they're like, oh, your parole hearing. And he's like, look, tell them I'm maxing out, because I'm not going there. They don't want to hear what I have to say, so I'm not going to even bother to waste my time to go there and waste their time. So he completely is accepting his in jail. He's doing exercises. You see, by the end of it, he's like almost like at peace, you know, like with being there for the rest of his life. And he just as long as the one thing that he has is his innocence, and he has it in his heart, and he'll never go back on that. And that's another thing that keeps him strong. So in a way, like he learns how to cope eventually after many beatings. Now, what is the scene what we're getting to that you think is the most poignant one here?
He's in. he's inside solitary, and he thinks so. Earlier in this episode, he's visited by his mother, played by Niecy Nash,
right.
and he asked her, "Do you know if my brother will come visit me?" And she's like, and she was like, I don't talk. I don't talk to him. And then while he's in solitary, he goes back how he was cutting school one day, and his brother stops him, and they walk and they talk, right? And then the scene, his brother's homosexual, and
she's a trans.
When he's walking, Corey asks his brother, why they keep looking at you like that? And he says, nah, because they're jealous of who I am. I'm free to be who I am. And then the scene where he transforms himself into a woman, he's wearing his mother's clothes, a wig, and makeup. And that scene is the
where
single
best
scene where she kicks him out. His name is Norman, but he's telling his mother, call me Marcy, and she said, you will never, ever hear me call you Marcy, Norman. I will go to hell before I call you Marcy. Oh, my God. The pain in Niecy Nash's eyes, the pain, and forgive me, I forgot the actress name, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the actor has had a sex transplant over the last few years. But that was a sensational
episode. I think Isis King.
Isis King was sensational in this scene. And Jarrell Jerome did not say a word. Just his eyes and the tears welling up in his eyes as he watches his brother and his mother, the two people he loved most in this world, fighting each other over this. And it's just, he doesn't want his brother to leave. And that was the last, because then you find out, because the warden, not the warden, the correctional officer brings him to see the warden, and he's like, no, I'm not going to the warden, because last time he went to the warden, he had to say something like I'm guilty or whatever. No, the warden has a phone call for him, and he finds out that his brother had been murdered.
Yeah, I mean, he has to go to the chaplain. The chaplain is there, gives him the news that his brother died, and he has a violent kind of reaction to it. And that's where that's kind of where I think the guard. Is this the same guard that is his friend?
It's the same guard. He hugs him tightly, and then he tells the guard he wants to transfer.
Right, and the guard is like, he warns him there that it's not a good idea. But he hugs him. This is like the first love anybody's shown him in prison. Like he gets hugged like really hard. He can't believe it. Yeah, and his mother doesn't come off too well here either. I mean,
But she has her redemption. She comes and visits Corey and tells Corey that she's become a Pentecostal. She's a born-again Christian. And she even mentions her son by the name he wanted to be called. He says, I have a lot of forgiving to do because of what happened to Marcy.
Yep. So in death, she comes around. So, but I've seen, like, apparently Corey in real life had two brothers that were gay,
and they both were trans, because she had a younger son who wound up being gay as well.
Yeah. So he wrote some kind of defense of his mother, which everyone will do, saying that it wasn't, she wasn't depicted well. But, I mean, look, people, it took them a long time to accept these kind of things in their family, especially religious black women,
Yes, especially someone like her. Yes. I understand her grief. This was an honest depiction. I mean, and she turned around and she's dealing with that guilt. This woman feels guilty of the way she treated her oldest son. But it happens all the time, especially in Italian, you're Italian, Puerto Rican, I'm Puerto Rican, and black families. Those are the three that deal with these the hardest, that are the that take the longest to accept someone people like that. Yes, because there's a
Homophobia.
lot of homophobia in the Italian, Puerto Rican, and black communities, and I'll be the first to admit that.
Yeah. I think because, I mean, I think it has a lot to do with the religion. People think it's against God, and nobody. Everybody wants.
It also has to deal with the way we were raised, Logan. We were raised by fathers who very machismo. I mean, Italian and Puerto Ricans, men, they're probably the most machismo men on the planet. All right.
Yeah.
So you're told at a young age, if I ever see you wearing a skirt or walking like, I will cut you. Shit like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that gets embedded in your head at 2-3 years old.
Dude, in the old days, if they found out that you might be a little gay, what they do is they take you out in the field with a bunch of dudes and they beat the shit out of you until you're not gay.
Yep. Hey, Logan ain't lying. Yeah.
So, like, just casting you out of the house in many ways was lenient in that culture. So, but still, it affected him because his brother/sister always looked after him.
That was the one that always looked after him, the one that loved him the most. Yes, and the one you see. And it would be Corey, such a beautiful young man. This is a man. He didn't see race. He didn't see gender. He didn't see your sexual orientation. He saw a brother that loved him, and he loved his brother regardless of what he liked, because his brother loved him. That was pure love, and that was the scene between the mother, Isis King, Niecy Nash, and Jarrell Jerome. That scene in the house where Isis is Norman Marcy is being thrown out the house. In my opinion, the single best scene in the entire 4 episodes. The scene that made me cry, and the scene that will probably lead to 2 or 3 Emmy wins just off that scene alone.
Yeah. The ironic thing here is while he's cleaning up, he runs into this guy who's not supposed to be there. I think the guy knows that he's the dude who confessed to the crime he did. So that's why he's up there, almost to like see him in person. But he starts a fight with him, and they get into a fight. And
I think he's there just because he knows that's one of the guys he
that took the rap.
That took the rap for him. Yeah, I agree with you without a doubt.
Yeah. So, but it's weird how he starts a fight with him, though. I mean, it's like he has mixed feelings. But this is before he had this conversion experience.
Mm-hmm.
So we see that this guy, he approaches him. When he gets transferred to yet another prison even further away, that guy gets transferred as well. Maybe he transferred himself. I don't know. But the point is, he sees him on the field. They're out in the yard, and dude comes up to him, and he's tentative. Corey is.
Let me mention the irony of ironies here. Oprah asked Corey on the show, "Do you regret going down with Yusuf to be there for him when he got arrested?" And he said he had mixed emotions. Think about this. He doesn't go down there. He's a free man probably for the rest of his life. He never goes to jail, nothing. We don't know what happens with his life, but things turn out differently for him. If he doesn't go down there, those 4 young men might still be in prison to this day.
You're right, because he's the one who kind of makes contact with.
Yes.
And I think in many ways his like maintenance of his innocence and him staying like strong through the whole thing touches the real rapist's heart, because he's like, he knows he didn't do this, and he sees this dude like fucking serving out a sentence for something he didn't commit. And I think it almost, like, you could argue that this dude fucking changed the heart of the criminal and got him to confess. I mean, you never know. But you're right.
You never know, but
that.
You think about these men, they're not kids anymore. These men could still be in prison if Corey didn't make the decision to go down with Yusuf, because it's Corey, the guy got to the fight with Corey, like you said, he might have mixed emotions at that time. Then when he sees him again, he says, "Man, fuck it. I'm going to turn myself in." And the father exonerated. You see the scene where they bring it to Linda Fairstein's attention that, hey, this guy is the only guy that got the DNA match. His match is a story. The kids were nowhere near when a rape happened. We have that. We did the crime scene over. Oh, no. Oh, no. No.
This is the sixth rapist.
He's just a sixth rapist.
Fucking bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Bitch, I mean, it's like so many, like I said, so many bitches in parts 3 and 4. Like every single woman almost, except for a few, like total bitches. But yeah, like in this one, man, she's such a hard ass.
Yes. She doesn't want to take the fall. Yeah.
Nah. And she takes out her books and she's like, look at all these fucking books. While you were writing these piece of shit novels, motherfuckers rotting in jail.
Yeah, I know. Well, thank you for purchasing my books, bitch. Fuck out of here.
Oh yeah, she gets up. She doesn't want to finish. Like she won't face it. And the thing is like, look, man. At this point, you just admit you did wrong, man. Like, but I don't know what happens to somebody who admits they did something like that. I mean, maybe you go to prison, But I think she deserves to for what she did.
She deserves to be disbarred, no longer able to make a living doing any type of criminal prosecution, and she deserves at least 3 or 4 years in jail behind what she did.
Oh man, I would do more. Like, I think this shit is like an epidemic. And like, you think of, okay, this is a story where people are exonerated, but like, that's why it's a story. If they never got exonerated, we wouldn't even hear about it.
It's not a story. Yeah. Nope. You're right.
Right. So you think about all the cases where they didn't get exonerated. There must be hundreds of thousands.
And the bitch didn't ask herself, why is this guy, after all these years, is coming out and admitting to do something that he got away with scot-free? What does he have to gain from this?
Right. Nothing. So, but this guy, so he comes out, he gives all the details, man. Like, he knows everything about the motherfucking... He gives it like it happened yesterday. He knew exactly, and everything matched. Where he dragged her, where he attacked her. Everything matched. Everything matched. And then once the DNA matched, it was a wrap. And we talk about Corey because he got the worst of it, and he was like the least likely because he just went to the prison with the guy who they suspected. He was on a list, apparently. They came up with some bogus list about all the kids they were chasing in the park. He wasn't even on that list.
Nope.
And we see that the mother of Yusef, who's fighting to get her son out, doesn't even because Corey is like wants to hear from Yusef. They're good friends, but they're not allowed to communicate even by letter. And even though the mother of Corey is like, oh man, he could really use a letter from Yusef. Like, let me just deliver it to him. And Yusef's mom's just like, fuck that. Like, look, they can't communicate. Like, that's the law. So you think I'm going to help you break the goddamn law and endanger my son's freedom and your
which is understandable,
and your son's freedom? I mean, so it's like I think she had a level head there, but she still comes off like a bitch though, like cold-hearted because Corey put himself on the line for your son.
It's understandable. It's understandable, Logan, because she lost her son for all those years. She got her son back, and God damn it, if anything gets in the way of losing her son again. Yeah.
So in any case, that all this stuff, it's like all these hard choices that have to be made. But this guy, and at the end too, because you have these, the system now has come aware of this. Now, what they could have done is if they listened to the prosecutor. They could, and this prosecutor even mentions how they have a 40-some-odd page report that explains exactly why these motherfuckers, these 5 innocent people, are still guilty. You know what I mean? And they just add on the 6th one as the 6th attacker, and that's the whole deal. And even though none of their DNA is on her, and all his DNA is on her, it doesn't matter.
And the 4 young men that were in the park that were originally arrested before they even picked out Corey had never met. They didn't even meet each other in the park that night. They weren't even associating with each other in the park that night.
Yeah. And then the prosecutor, she makes up this ridiculous idea that they were fighting in the prison because they were fighting about taking the rap for this. They're both in fucking prison. Like,
They're
what do
both
they
in
care?
prison.
One of them's already convicted of it. You know, it's like you think that. Anyway, so it's just the whole thing, man.
It was two convicted rapists fighting each other. So what the hell are they fighting about, right?
Yeah.
Or they fight one going to take the other rap.
Yeah, they were fighting over fucking TV, stupid shit like that. But what a coincidence! I mean, the whole thing. And so when you look at this and you see the process they had to go through, as in terms of like exonerating these people, first they had to get past the strenuous objections of this bitch prosecutor who I don't even know why they don't bring up the other one too, who was total, like, I think even though she wasn't as bad, she knew what was going on. She knew it was some bullshit, and she went along with it anyway. The one played by Vera Farmiga, her character, I mean, they didn't even it looked like she's out the picture, but they eventually, they call up Corey. He's in his prison. He's doing his exercises. You can tell he's completely fine with being in jail at this point. He's figured it out. But at this point, they're like, okay, time for you to leave. And he's like, he almost can't believe it. He thinks someone died when he gets the call.
Yep.
But it's his mom saying, you're coming home. And he's just like, no. And he just doesn't want to believe it. And I think he probably thinks, oh, they're going to make me say I did it, right? And it's like, nope, you were exonerated. And so they all get out, and I mean, ultimately, this is it. This is the end here, where they kind of ended. They give us the stories of where they went. One of them had, like, I think Yusuf had like 10 kids, or has 10 kids now.
Oh yeah,
they all have a lot of kids.
They all. I don't think Corey has any kids, but the other 4 does. And Corey's the only one that still lives in New York. And Corey, shout out to Corey Rise, a man with mental deficiencies, has donated hundreds of thousands of dollars to the Innocence Project that's in his name. So big shout out to him. And
so is he still speak like with special needs, or he speaks pretty intelligently?
If you watch the Oprah interview, he stumbles a lot and he stutters.
Okay, but he's not stupid.
When I first saw it, I thought maybe prison made him this way. But then when I went back and looked at the archived and the Central Park 5 documentary by Ken Burns, and he had a speech impediment back then. He was always mentally deficient. Prison might have made it worse, but prison didn't make him that way. So he talks with us, but I mean, strong.
But usually, when they notice somebody's mentally deficient, they don't put them in prison. Like, that's weird too.
This was a political powder keg. These kids had to pay.
Yeah. So they did throw out Trump's name again here.
All five have been very successful. We spoke about Corey. We spoke about Yusuf Salam and his doctorate, his PhD. Raymond Santana owns his own clothing line called Park Madison Clothing, named after the intersection. The two. I live between Park and Madison, so I know exactly what he means, because he lived in the same building I'm living in currently, and Corey lived across the street from me in that building. So I live in a neighborhood where these young men resided in. Park Madison Clothing Line. Antoine lives, I believe, in Georgia. Runs a trucking firm and with his wife and children. And I'm missing somebody else. And Kevin, I think Kevin doesn't live too far from Antoine. They live in the same area. So yeah, they've all done well. After Raymond came out of prison for his for drug dealing, he owns his own clothing line. He's done well. So these young men, these men are younger than me, which is, I mean, they're in the mid-40s right now. These men, so they still have a lot to offer to society, and they continue. And the five of them stay in contact with each other, and even though they didn't know each other, have become, before the incident, have become big friends.
So none of them knew each other, right? I think a couple knew each other.
Only Yusuf Only Yusuf and Corey.
Oh, so even those other four
None
that went to juvie.
Yeah.
Wow.
The four that were picked up at first didn't know each other.
Unbelievable.
That's why it didn't make any sense. I'm going to jump in on a rape with four of the dudes that I don't know. I'm just, there's an axe on the floor. Let me get my dick in her.
But it made it that much more easier for them to fake their confession because, like, they were ratting on people they didn't know. It's
but
like,
they probably would have never. Right. Maybe they'll never meet him. He did it. Okay, I can go home now.
Yeah, get me the fuck out of here. I mean, any kid's gonna do that. But anyway, although shout out to the kids who were in the interrogation and didn't give him shit. Because you talk about those kids, like, they're not in this movie, but they're like heroes unto themselves, I think, because I'm sure they tried to get more than just.
There was a bunch of them they talked to.
Yeah.
Those were the only five that they
managed
to come
to squeeze.
With. The squeeze. Yeah. If they could have got 20, they would have gotten 20.
Yeah. They were trying to get like everybody.
Process of elimination. Process of elimination.
Man. Shit makes you so angry, man, when you watch it because you're just like, man, this shit's still happening. It's so good, man. So when what would you recommend that people watch the Ken Burns thing? Yeah, obviously.
Yes, yes, I definitely watched the Ken Burns because the Ken Burns documentary. Mayor de Blasio, when he was running for mayor, saw that documentary, and when he became mayor, one of the first things he did because of this documentary, he was heavily influenced by this documentary, and speaking with Ken Burns and speaking with the Central Park Five, went ahead and released and said, look, we're not fighting these young men anymore. Give them their money.
So they were still fighting at that point?
Mayor Bloomberg refused to give them a dime.
Wow, that fucking piece of shit, man.
It wasn't until Mayor de Blasio became mayor that these young men get their money.
Wow, I did not know that, man, because, like, I thought they got it a lot sooner than that. So they didn't even get it.
They didn't get it in 2014.
That's fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Like
12 years after they were exonerated.
So they had to live for another 12 years of prison on the outside.
Yes.
So it's almost like 20 years.
But they were exonerated. They were exonerated in 2002. They didn't get the settlement until 2014.
Yeah, but you know what? By the Bloomberg refusing to pay it, in a way, it's like him still saying they still did it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's why he did it. He didn't want the New York City Police Department and the DA's office to
admit wrong.
to being involved in any wrongdoing. So
right.
Bloomberg was attempting to save face by doing this and made it look worse. Because the minute de Blasio took office, he said, man, this was one of the darkest periods in our city's history. It's time to right a wrong.
I can't believe that, like, because I don't think in a way that till they got that money that was actually like monetary proof of that they actually were cleared in people's minds, because people are like, well,
people still think they did it. I mean, closed-minded people still think they did it. So yeah.
It's every single time that they get challenged by it, their stupid fucking response is, well, they said they did it. It's like, yeah, fuck you with that shit, man. That's the only shit you have.
That's the only defense they have. They don't have physical evidence. They don't have anything. And even the jogger, who years ago claimed she don't remember anything, when she was interviewed by 2020, felt that, it had to be more than one person.
Well, you don't blame. I mean, I can't blame her, because in a way they suggested that to her through the whole entire process. They constantly gave her that.
Taking it into her head. Right. You're
so
right.
She was much a victim as them, and she was traumatized. So she was in a vulnerable state.
I gotta give her credit. Remember, she was a jogger before she was raped. She went back to jogging after years of therapy, and I think around the same time that 2012, 2013, she ran and finished the New York City Marathon. So shout out to her.
Amazing. Amazing recovery. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so at least this has at the end a happy, but man, with a lot of sad in the middle there. So definitely check out the documentary. And then I think on YouTube now they've released the entire tape of each interrogation, which so you can see just how much ridiculous.
Just look at the hurt, look at the confusion, and look at the nervousness in these kids' eyes. And each story doesn't match. So if I'm saying you did it, Logan, and you saying I did it, and this guy saying you did it, and another guy saying I did it, the fuck? Who did it?
Okay, sorry, we got cut off there. One Sylvie there.
Yeah, so I'd highly recommend to watch the documentary. Watch the YouTube clips that Logan just mentioned. I mean, you don't take our word for it. Don't take the limited series word for it. Make up your own mind. Read the transcripts. Look at the YouTube videos. Look at the documentary. On ABC On Demand is the 2020 2-hour special that came out last month where they looked at both sides, and they did a great job. Got to give them credit. They did a great job at looking at both sides. You judge your own conclusion.
Well, the conclusion is they didn't do it, but yeah, I mean, I don't think you need to.
I'm just saying, once you read all that, you have to be very open-minded to know that these kids were wrong. Now, if you're closed-minded, don't even bother, because your mind is made up already.
Yeah, and you just look at all the heartache and lives that were wasted, not just from these kids, but their parents. You know, you look what happened to
their family. Yes.
Michael K. Williams' character. You look what happened to just all these mothers just grieving over this for years.
Corey's older brother, Corey's mother. They all suffered.
Yeah, and it's just, I think it also set back race relations like many years as well. Now, because in the black community, even before this guy came forward, it was well known these guys were innocent, right?
Like I told you in the last episode. My father and I were fatherless because at the time I was 21 years old, living in New York, 22, 23. And another thing, Logan, they didn't get convicted until 1991. It took 2 years for the city to prove their case against these kids. But while we was reading the transcripts and stuff, we was like, this shit don't match. My father said from the get-go, the fuck? My father was a gangster. My father was like, I'm not going to help 3 other dudes that I don't know gang bang some bitch. Unbelievable. And he said it didn't make sense. It did not make sense.
Oh, God, I shouldn't laugh at that.
Unbelievable.
But anyway, when you look at like the repercussions now for the people that were involved, like they're getting like some bad press basically, but I think they are getting death threats. So what do you suppose they should do? I mean, I guess the best thing for them to do is just apologize, I think.
Well, they're not going to. I mean,
But if you were advising them, I mean, it makes sense.
They're not. But if you listen to these, if you watch the 2020 segment on the Central Park.
Shit,
You hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello?